energy and effort. I am about to go through a separation from my wife of 9 years and I'm completely crushed. I love her more than anything and feel completely lost without her. We have a 7-year-old son and he too is my pride and joy. This is my second marriage and have 2 teenage girls from first marriage. We have always done many things married couples should not do. Separate finances, sleeping arrangements, I snore, separate friends, etc. However, we always found a way to make it work. 2 good people from 2 good families I guess is what made it work. We have had ups and downs and gotten over some hurdles most marriages couldn't. We have had a past of breakups while dating, where I would move out for 6 months and then my wife would call crying asking me to come back and I always did. I love her, what can I say? I was always the initiator, the one giving hugs and saying how much I love her. She would say I love you back, but over the years the strength of her love was weakening. Everyone saw it but I denied it. Our physical life was never anything to talk about. I denied all of this for a while. For her, having to deal with me complaining about my ex, my daughters, who have not been all that great to me, finances and getting all worked up over small stuff has taken its toll on her. She has lost the feeling. Regardless of anything, my wife is an extremely caring and sweet person that would not hurt a fly. She said we need to separate. She is unhappy. She is not interested right now at working on the marriage. She cares a lot about me but does not have the 100% to give me that she says I should have. She has been giving 80% but does not have the other 20%, like physical drive, feelings a wife should have for her husband, that spouse connection, etc. I did the phone log check and played private investigator. I found the she admitted to exchanging text messages that were flirtatious, but that is all. He is someone she knows for 15 years, works with, and safe to speak with since she has absolutely no feelings of it going any further. After a few days of not being able to deal with it, I called the guy and gave him a piece of my mind. He said he knows my wife a long time and it has always been casual banter and work-related. Nothing more. No idea what I was speaking about and stuck with that story. My wife's cousin, who I have always been close with, confirmed for me I had absolutely nothing to worry about with him and swore up and down he is nothing more than a friend for a long time. I believe her. Anyway, I have been lost ever since this has all gone down, walking around like a zombie, depressed, lonely, weak when I see her and wanting her more and more. I have been literally forcing myself to eat since she lowered the boom. I know I must leave my house soon and stay a few nights a week, to start, at a cousin's house, but I so badly want to win her back. I crumble and show weakness whenever she is around. It is hard still living in the same house. I will do anything. Family and friends said I need to do the 180 on her. Is that what I do to win her back? If so, how? I always look weak and fragile and doing the 180 to come off as tough and I can survive without you, but really hoping she would break down and say she really misses me and wants to possibly work on things. I guess then if I do the 180 it is more to fix me and get myself better. With that said, how would I then go about winning her back and her looking at me in a different light? She always said I looked at things on the negative side. She always said me, was never happy and complaining about something or someone. Maybe I can change my outlook on things and stop the negativity. I know I can and will. She is crying to me today in an email, saying I am sick and sad and tired and sorry, her exact words. How do I answer that? Do I stay strong and not reply and make it like I am not jumping at the slightest thing she sends me? I want to but think a lot of this is psychological and I need to ignore it to get better. Am I wrong? So, damn lost. Believe me, my wife breakdown, but still wants to be apart. By me answering her and showing my whole hand is not going to let her miss me. Sounds childish, but being weak and jumping at everything she says, throwing a crumb once in a blue moon, to be the nice guy just does not work and delivers no results. It is not like anything has changed as far as her feelings. I am not going home tonight, staying with family. It is going to really sting later on, I know it. I want her back so bad it hurts so bad. However, I guess I must think it's okay to go through the pain to think after pain comes success and reward. I got the facts earlier today at 6:15 a.m. She told me everything. A few months ago, ex-BF of 11 years contacted her via email and apologized for treated her badly years ago. He had slept with her cousin among other things in the relationship. This started an email exchange, phone call, and emotional feelings that my W felt may have led to a situation that was more than just email and calling. In short, his wife found out about the email, called my wife a piece of crap, and no other contact since. My W said this brought her the closure she needed on that relationship. Sorry that it caused another family to be hurt. By having those feelings left her confused and scared by why she felt that way about it possible turning into something more. The follow-up act was what led to the recent flirtatious text exchanges with her emotional friend of 15 years that we discussed about 2 weeks ago. It was a safe venture since she never had those kinds of feeling for him but needed to see if she felt that she had those feelings for just another person or if it was just her ex getting in touch and dealing with those emotions. She is now more confused after speaking this morning, crying all the time and telling me she has no idea what's wrong in her head and why this midlife crisis type behavior is now coming about. As sick as it sounds, this kind of left me relieved in 2 ways. 1. I feel I now know the deal as to what went down and leaving me feeling good that it's not me and nothing I can do to change her feelings. Over the past 2 to 3 weeks, I have been a zombie. Lost, emotional, confused, not knowing how to act, strong at times, weak most of the time, choked up, faking a smile, basically, lost my identity. Along the way leaning on my family for support. However, as you may know, family support comes with a price. The price of them becoming very resentful to my pissed at her. Which makes me feel like it is a big mistake telling them too much, but I could not help myself needing that shoulder to cry on. They console me 1 minute and the next telling me to wake up and move on already, you have to be stronger, you're too weak, etc. They deal with conflict by showing anger, by hating. It is easier for them and they can't understand why I cannot be that way. Well, I am not. Their pressure and feedback to move on already. You guys never really had a great marriage. She's this and she's that made me reflect on things more driving home from work yesterday. I thought about carefully analyzing, filtering what I say to all of them. Mom, Dad, sis, etc. I need to stop whining to them even when it feels good to let it out. I pay the price every time with them eventually throwing things up in my face and hating my more. This is not about them, it is about me. Anyway, after thinking I realized and ready to take the next step in this horrible separation process that is probably just the dress rehearsal for divorce, I still strike up yet another conversation last night with my what was supposed to be a money conversation, and come up with a large amount so I can understand what I need to pay her monthly and what I can afford so I can get my own place, turned into me sulking again to her, showing the weak man, turning her off again, still not getting it, still needing her to hurt me yet again and say she is checked out at this moment. Still having to show my weakness and unappealing presence was so degrading, and I knew it but could not hold back. It sucked. Really it did. She made it clear yet again that we have no heartbeat in this marriage at this time and we need to separate, and that she is done. Did not leave any gray area at all, and to please stop asking the same thing over and over because it just sets us back. After being slapped in the face yet again with hearing her hurt me again, I asked for it and saying how sorry she was. Love you and care about you, but I do not have that spouse love and not sure where I lost it. I said to myself last night, while alone, that my life, me, has had enough. It's 180 time to change me for me and only me. To be there for my son and daughters, to find a new home, to be happy, to get my personality back, etc. Been a few weeks since I posted my story and wanted to update everyone on how things have transpired since my last post. I have been on my best behavior for the past 3 to 4 weeks. I have done everything in my power to make the living together separation tolerable and less awkward for both of us, being as nice and considerate as any man would trying to save his marriage. Because she has said financial issues really played into 60 to 70% of our issues. I have since paid off my car and started paying extra to creditors, etc. This I feel I have control over this part of things and hopefully shows how much I am taking what she has told me seriously. I have now lost between 45 to 50 pounds and living at the gym to keep busy and feel good. For the first time in my life, I feel I'm in the best shape I have ever been in. However, I can't seem to enjoy this part of my life and the accomplishment I have made physically. Over the past 3 to 4 weeks we have been getting along great. Being able to talk, joke and share what goes on when visiting family, separately. However, knowing in my heart I need to move out to expedite the situation one way or another, knowing it's going towards divorce or seeing if there is any love left, I chose to go on the apartment hunt and find a place to live. It took a lot for me to get to this point, but I knew it was probably the best move. Her mother, my family and friends all agreed that I needed to do this. I looked for a short-term lease, in case something changed along the way. Initially, my told my family that she thought it would be great for me to be on my own and experience what it would be like to live on my own since I never have, to get some independence. Well, this past Friday I found a place. I went home to get paperwork to ultimately sign a lease and broke the news to my 7-year-old son and that I was leaving. He cried, crushing to see that, and she seemed to get a tiny bit, just a tiny bit, of a reality check in her facial expression. She asked why I would pay all that money to leave and then put myself in what could be a financial struggle rather than stay home and separately work on ourselves. Separately. She was not saying to work on things together, the marriage, to ultimately after a month or 2 or 3 to reconvene and see where we are if we ready to work on things or ready to move on. I have no idea where she was going with this. To me, the money would work itself out if I left. It always has. Bottom line, if she wanted me to go, I was giving her what she wanted. Right? I handed it to her on a silver platter. She initially wanted me to move on, and if something changed then we would deal with it. This is what she wanted, but then told me she thought it was a bad move and that how could we ever eventually work on our situation if we are still going to have the financial struggle of now me having my own place. I'm more confused now. What should I make of this? This past week I have taken the family out to dinner, paying for everything that I can and express to her how much the marriage means to me and that I am going to prove how I am not that same guy. All this with trying to balance out how to act in my own house and not making her feel pressured. This is tough. Yes, she has not changed her feelings towards giving me anything other than hello and good night and thank you for the nice things that I'm doing. but no more. I know I cannot expect anything more than what she is giving me, and that it is basically impossible to change how someone feels once they fall out of love with you. I get that and continue to remind myself of that. It's so hard to be under the same roof and not being able after 15 years to hug and kiss my wife. Unbearably hard to get past this need. However, I know this cannot happen right now based on the way she feels and giving her space. No matter how hard we try to make our spouses fall back in love with us again, it has to come from that person to get the feeling back. We can only do so much. It's what everyone has been telling me. All I can say is this: if anyone is thinking about separation and you choose to live with your spouse during the separation to figure out if there is still love or not, on top of maybe financial reasons, and you are the one who is still physically attracted, be prepared for the toughest challenge of your life. It is filled with rejection, constant hurt, and trying to interpret every word that is spoken to you by your spouse to see if what she said means they are coming around or getting more distant. Wow, life should not be this hard. The spouse who initiates the separation is the one that really does not know what they want after you give them their space. They will drive you nuts trying to keep up with their personality. It could become consuming and damaging to your own mind if you do not come to the realization that whatever they do or say means nothing but garbage, mind games, and trying to help themselves feel better about the guilt and that you're still emotionally attached to them. That's why it is important to stay true to yourself, become better for you, not them. When someone wants you, needs you, loves you, they will tell you, not play games. Simple as that. As I mentioned in one of my previous notes, last Friday I discussed with my wife that I was leaving and was going to sign a 6-month lease on an apartment. At the time, she said it made no sense to leave knowing that it would bring an additional financial burden onto me that would eventually not enable us to focus on the marriage issues and still leave the financial issues on the table, this prohibiting us to eventually focus on us. With that said, I did not take the apartment. This morning we were discussing my appointment tonight with the psychiatrist, and I wanted to make sure we were on the same page with the questions I had for the psychiatrist. I said I was going in there to discuss a few things. 1. How do we stay in the same house and continue to be cordial, nice, and comfortable to each other? Can that work with me not getting frustrated and having no expectations other than coexisting in the same house? 2. When during this time, in the same house, is it right to start to focus on us? How do I do this without making her feel pressured? 3. When do we decide this is not working or is working and we will continue? Well, little did I know she took away from our last Friday conversation that I would stay at home for another 6 weeks until I was able to be in a little bit better financial position to move out rather than spending the next 6 weeks to see how it goes and how we get along. This set me back and threw me a curveball. Man, we just cannot get on the same page. If I knew this last Friday that this is what she was trying to say, then I would have taken the apartment, no question. To me, money always somehow finds its way to work out, in my experience, and most of the time you're never ready to take on additional expenses, but you find a way to make it work, which is why I would have left. Anyway, we continued our convo and I said getting my own apartment, after 6 weeks, not really sure how 6 weeks makes that much of a big financial change, knowing it isn't that bad of a financial situation, could be the right thing to do, but could also still backfire knowing that I will be incurring more expenses regardless of when I do it, security, furnish it, possibly having to buy out the lease if things work out 3 months into it, etc. Or stay put, giving the next 6 weeks to continue to do our own thing, separately, give her space, as much as I can to stay out of her way, keep myself occupied by continuing to go to the gym, eat right and be with my son and reevaluate the situation, at some point, knowing nothing may come out of it and having no expectations along the way. She suggested this. For now, why we don't just stick with the possibility of by the end of May I move out, still go to psychiatrist tonight and mention all of these things to see what the psychiatrist says and we can take it from there. We also discussed the possibility of me asking my cousin if it would be okay to stay with him for now, a few months, give her 3 months to clear her head, pay him to stay at his place without having to incur all the expenses of signing a lease, security deposits, and furnishing a place, then seeing how things play out. My cousin is open to me staying with him temporarily, but wants it only to be temporary. I do at some point have to fully move on and get settled, and if something changes for the better, so be it. However, he said to be quite honest he's a little pissed that we all have to adjust our lives, me moving in with him, to see if by giving her 2 to 3 months to clear her mind proves one way or another if there is anything left in our marriage. I know getting my own place is probably the right answer. However, I want to see, for the sake of our marriage and my 7-year-old son, if time heals us. I will pray and keep the faith. A few months later, after going through a lot with my wife and hearing the I love you but not in love speech, every guy has to love that one. I've been laying low for the past few months getting settled in my new app. Moved in mid-May, getting my 7-year-old son in a routine to get used to the separation, seeing him 2 to 3 times a week, learning how to act with my wife both in her presence and over the phone. But I'm back with something I wanted to share with this group in hopes of getting some feedback, as I know this group is the best on advice and next steps. To make a long story short, I overcame a lot to get to a point of realizing my wife checked out. For a long time, I was rejected and needed to move on, which is why I got my own place and removed myself from a bad situation. Now that things have settled down and my son and I are more into a separation routine, something weird happened on the 4th that shocked the crap out of me. She invited me over to spend the day with them at the pool. We had a good day, then invited me over for dinner. Back at the house, while my son was in another room, my wife asked me into the kitchen to test dinner. When I went into the kitchen, she immediately put the food down and hugged and kissed me like a scene out of a romance movie. Kissed and cried as she hugged me passionately. I was in shock but went with it and secretly loved it, not going to lie. I was thrown for a loop that you could never imagine, since I was very close to 100% realizing she was over me. Anyway, throughout the night, while watching the fireworks, she laid next to me, resting her head on my shoulder, etc. Similar stuff went on this past Saturday at the house yet again. Flirting and joking with me, etc. We have not spoken one bit about why and how her feelings may have changed. I didn't want to ruin it or make her feel like she was being pressured, or possible here a letdown that maybe it was just a thing in the heat of the moment. Does absence really make the heart grow fonder? Is it what's happening? Is she seeing me now moving on and it scares her? But whatever, I have not, since day one, text or call or pest her. I feel I am getting pulled back in and scared to death, knowing it took so much to get to this point, only to now see her feelings come out. A little bit, that she hasn't shown in a very long time. My therapist said to go with it and do not say a word. Let her initiate and see where it goes, one day at a time. Don't allow yourself to weaken, don't allow yourself to become too available all the time she calls or calls the next shot. Be nice, but do not show your whole hand that you're dying to get back, even though you may feel that way. She invited me tomorrow for my birthday to have dinner with her and my son. I'm not going to lie, I loved the flirting while she was doing it, and kidding around with her right back, since it was a nice change to see her do that. However, my eye of the tiger side, no lie, I use the Rocky movies to be inspired and be tough through this, says be careful, be very careful. She wants to know that she still has you waiting in the wings. One thing I also want to mention is that she has displayed these feelings, just a kiss and leaning on my shoulder, in front of my 7-year-old son, who has had a really tough time with the separation, wants us together. During the entire separation, she has been very cautious about not giving him any false hope up to this point and just validates his feelings. So, for her to display these acts of affection in front of him is a change. Will it continue? I have no idea. Maybe the past 2 times has just been 2 good days and in the heat of the moment. I have no idea what to expect going forward. Maybe I am just overthinking it all and need to take a deep breath and let things just happen naturally and slowly. No idea. I agree to make myself busy next time I get an invite. If that happens again, as she is very unpredictable and does not show her feelings at all, even if at the very few times, she may be weak. I have no clue whether she has seen anyone since separation, and no, we have not spoken about the dating thing at all. It seems like nothing has occurred on that front, but I put nothing past anyone at any time. So, who knows? We left off on that topic months ago, saying that if that becomes an issue, where we wanted to date someone, then we would discuss it, but she or I never brought it up again. I, on the other hand, being the rejected one and pushed aside cause she lost the feeling, have met a few women for coffee, spoke to many on the phone, and one was a complete stalker. I continue to talk with a few and keep the lines of communication open, keep myself busy, and not sit around waiting for her to invite me over again. All this based on my therapist's suggestions. At the end of the day, I want to be back home with my wife and kid, but not at the expense of just because she missed me a little bit for a day here and there. I am in my apt until the end of Nov, took a 6-month lease, and not going anywhere even if anything miraculously changes for the better. I do not want to be someone's fallback option, I agree. Update, I confronted her about the kiss we had on the 4th of July. I tried to just let it go, but it was messing with my head and I needed answers as to why she did it. I figured the sooner I found out where we stand, what is going on in her head, the sooner I would understand where it all came from. So, this past Friday night, I dropped my son off back home after having dinner with him. When I went into the house, seeing her and wanted to touch her, I went over and kissed her, could not help myself. The lips tell everything, as I sensed the kiss was not with the same passion as the 4th of July kiss. This made me want to know more what was going on. She said the 4th of July kiss was just something she wanted to do after having spent a nice day with me. That's all. Something she felt like doing at the time and nothing more. Her feelings are still the same, and if she could flip a switch to get the feeling back, she would. Said it would be a hell of a lot easier. Immediately the feeling of rejection was happening all over again for me. I wanted to kick myself for allowing myself to be weak and let her play with my emotions all over again. All this just for a 10-second makeout session in the kitchen. I put in too much work up to this point for her to pull me back in again and then just blow it off like my feelings are the same and the kiss was just in the heat of the moment thing. Also, she said she missed hanging out with me. What a joke. I said I'm not a hangout guy, I am your husband and I am not waiting for you anymore. She said she understood. Basically, telling me go do what you must do. So, there you have it. She did this even though not thinking it would mess with my head and then have my 7-year-old son see us being affectionate and giving him false hope that we could be moving in the right direction. I guess I'm the idiot for being pulled and not reminding myself that she is all messed up in the head. After speaking with my therapist yesterday, where my therapist said she needs to miss you and initiate anything going forward, I am like, yeah, what when she is good and ready? What am I supposed to do? Let her initiate and then say it was just in the heat of the moment? Unreal. Things should not be this hard, haha. Anyway, my wife does not love me anymore the way a wife should a husband. I learned she is my son's mother and that's it. I cannot allow myself to become weak in front of her. I am the idiot but will forgive myself and hopefully learn from this mistake. I am going back to what worked in the past, right back to the beginning, which is making it all about me and my son. Not putting any more stock into anything she says or does. Continuing to work on what I want to do and not wasting my energy on trying to figure out what she is thinking or where she is. It does not work and not going to bring her back anytime soon or ever for that matter. My comment, she is using you as her support, the nice guy. If you get too independent of her, she will try to drag you back because she knows you are emotionally invested in the family, whereas she wants to keep you around as the fail-safe. Sorry, do not put any hope into a future with her. Be a good father, file for divorce who wants to be treated as the fallback. Time to grow up and face this by not just saying it but letting my actions show, by sticking to a plan to 180 it right now. Not tomorrow but now. I knew today was going to be a good day and pray to God that tomorrow is better and wink at that guy in the mirror and say, it's going to be alright kid, you can do this. I hope this makes sense to some of you out there who are further along in this crappy process than I am. Please, I welcome you passing your thoughts and motivation on to me. I need it and plan to learn every day how to get stronger for me and hope for the day in the future that I will be happy either by being alone, with a new partner or back with my W.